Welcome to Kara's Cures, where we explore the cutting edge of wellness. I'm Kara Sundlin. So the secret to making better decisions, feeling less reactive, could it come from using your whole brain? The answer is yes, according to Dr. Jill. In Kara's Cures today, we're talking with Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor on her best-selling book, Whole Brain Living, and how you can tap into the 4 characters of our brain to bring you more peace and ease in your life. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Kara. It's so good to be with you.
You know, I love that you're going to give us a brain tutorial, but I just want to introduce you again to our viewers if they don't remember your story, which I think is so incredible, that years and years ago, you were a Harvard-trained person in neuroscience. You knew everything there was to know about the brain, and then you yourself had a stroke, and it changed everything. Tell me a little bit about what happened to you.
Yes, I was teaching and performing research at Harvard Medical School, and one morning I woke up and I was experiencing a major hemorrhage in the left half of my brain. And over the course of 4 hours, through the eyes of a scientist, I watched my own brain deteriorate to the place where I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. So I lost half my brain, and I really got an idea of what's going on in that, what we call unconscious right hemisphere, and then rebuilt my brain over a course of 8 years. And then I ended up writing the book, My Stroke of Insight, which really catapulted me into the world.
Yes, Time 100's Most Influential People, on Oprah's Soul series, all of it. And I know it was a spiritual experience for you, because you said you got to experience the world of being beyond your physical self.
Exactly. I shifted away from the science into the experience of being as big as the universe, if you will. There's a group of cells in our left. I'm so sorry. This is reality TV with a dog.
Oh, that's okay. The dog's excited about your story. We love dogs.
Okay, good. So, so I lost my left hemisphere, and I became completely, as there's a group of cells right here that define the boundaries of where I begin and where I end. And if I don't have that experience of this is me limited, then I perceive myself to be as big as the universe. And you have to have then that left brain to have me, the individual, as well as the definition of me, the individual, in relationship to the external world.
Yeah, so that's, that book became very famous. You became someone who was lecturing all over the world. You're still doing that, but this new book, I feel, is more accessible in that these are things that we all need to know if we're having experiences where we're fighting a lot with our spouse, or you're that mom who why do I keep yelling at my kids? I mean not to. I want to be calm. I want to be peaceful, or I don't want to be so stressed out after this pandemic. This new book, Whole Brain Living, you say we kind of need to understand we have 4 characters in our brain. I love that you even name yours. Tell us about these 4 characters in our brain and how they can help us.
So we have 2 emotional systems. We've been trained that the right brain is emotional and the left brain is rational. And although the left brain is rational, we have emotional systems in both of our hemispheres. So if I look at this model of the brain and I open it up, I have emotional tissue down here on both hemispheres, and then I have thinking tissue in both hemispheres. But the left hemisphere is that character 1 that I call the character 1. It's the rational brain that interacts with the external world. It defines the boundaries of me, the individual. It has language. It's my A-type personality. It interacts with the external world. It defines what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. So we all have that character. We all have that A-type personality that likes us to be punctual. And if other people are not punctual, it notices that they were not punctual.
Yeah.
Correct. So we all have that character, and I just encourage people to name that character and give it an honoring identity, because it's going to pop out. And the thing about the 4 groups of cells and the 4 characters is it's as though the inside of our head, they're just passing the microphone. Who's screaming into that mic? Am I all of a sudden angry and hostile in my character 2? Or am I interacting with the external world appropriately as my character 1? Or am I feeling playful and just in the present moment and happy to be with others in my character 3 of my right brain? Or am I feeling really filled with this incredible sense of gratitude, especially during this time of Thanksgiving? I give thanks that I'm alive and that I have the capacity to love those people who are around me.
So you even name yours. I think you call your first one Helen, right?
Helen. Helen.
She's the one who's helping you become an international speaker who's needing everything done right now.
She gets it done. She gets it done. She's busy. She gets it done. I know Helen. It's so funny because even if my friends will call and Helen is in the office and working and I say, hello, and they'll say, oh, hi, Helen. Can you call us back later? And it's like, great, I'll make a note, right? So, because Helen is that character personality. If I'm unhappy or I need to commiserate or I'm angry about something or I'm in my fear, then my friends can recognize that character too. We can all recognize these different characters inside of ourselves, as well as in the people we live with, the people we work with. And just the more familiar we become with who's who inside of my head and their heads, then we can start navigating our relationships a little bit better because we have differentiated more. Who am I and who are you?
So just to make it practical for folks, you talk about a brain huddle. Essentially, you're going to take that pause. And if you're feeling, I guess that's the first step is we have to be able to pause and notice you're feeling really reactive. And let's say you continue to have the same argument, with your kid about homework or getting out the time. And every time you say, I'm not going to yell, but then they're late to school and you're rushing and then out comes whatever characters. You say that pause and having a brain huddle is what changes it. It's like you're inviting these characters to the table. So explain that a little bit more. What does a brain huddle look like and how does it help us?
Well, any of my characters, Helen, when I'm up in the office, she can call the huddle, or my unhappy self can call the huddle, or my playful self, or my feeling love and connected to all that is. Anybody can call the huddle inside of my brain. So it's BRAIN, a brain huddle. So brain becomes the acronym. So B is breath. Breath is the first thing we do when we're born and the last thing we do before we die. It's in the present moment, and we can always bring our mind into the present moment, which means it's not about my past. Whatever anger I may be bringing with me from the past, I let it all lay down and I bring my mind to the present moment. R stands for recognize which of the four characters was I in who actually called the huddle. Was I being my playful self? Was it my organized self? Was I unhappy and I felt like I need a timeout and I need my team to come to the present moment? Because we have the ability to purposely choose to self-soothe ourselves using other parts of our brain to help us get out of our funk or our anger or hostility. So B, bring your mind to the present moment with breath, or recognize which character called the huddle. A, appreciate that no matter who called the huddle, there's four of me in here. And because there's four of me in here, this is my team. This is my brain team. And what do teams do? They get in the huddle and they say, okay, what plays? What's the next play going to be? So I is inquire. Based on the reality of this situation, my kid has again not cleaned the room, but I don't have to yell. I can actually go into the structure of it and try to explain, why do I want you to clean your room? Why is that important? Or I can actually get in there and play with you and start cleaning the room up with you. I, of course, can rage and move into that character, or I can just say, it's Thanksgiving. I really don't care right now. And I love you in spite of yourself. Come to dinner. So we have this ability. So B, bring your mind to your breath. R, recognize which character you are in. A, appreciate you got all four. I, inquire who do I want to be in the next moment. And then N is navigate moment by moment by moment. We have that power to choose.
So the book helps you really determine this, who your characters are. I guess most of us would have a character that tends to come out more often, or at least in certain situations.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just that. I mean, I might be a primary one, and I'm very work oriented, and I'm punctual, and I'm detailed, and people can count on me to do things, so they give me things to do. And I'm running the to-do list. I'm really good at that. And some of us are really good at that. And some of us aren't very good at that at all. So we actually are over in the play side of the brain in character 3. And then this character 1 is nagging us. I really need to pay those bills. I really need to do that order. I really need to go to the office. I really need to. I really need to. So I don't get, it ruins my present moment, because all I really need to do is say to that character, okay, how much time do you need? Okay, I think it'll take 3 hours to get it all done. Okay, I'm going to schedule you for Friday at 2. And you can have the rest of Friday. And then if you need Saturday, you can have that too. And then that character can say, gotcha. And it can go away and leave you alone. And you can actually enjoy your present moment time without that nagging going on inside of your head. We all have all this stuff going on. And it's like, then we feel conflicted, we feel confused, we feel sad, we feel guilty. Nobody's getting their needs met inside of even our own head. So yeah, it's a great way to help differentiate what's going on inside of your head and how do I live the best life I want to live.
Yeah, I mean, the awareness, I love it, but you make it kind of fun. I don't know if our viewers have seen the movie Inside Out, but I watched it with my kids when it came out, and there's the character who's sad, and there's the character who's this, and they're all like vying for who gets to control the mothership, and they're like, give me the controls, give me the controls. So you're saying that's kind of what happens, but if we call Brain Huddle, and we think of it as we personify, essentially, we personify these parts of our brain, that's when we can make real change. If you're unhappy that, gosh, I'm always so reactive, I'm always yelling, and I don't want to be, you can say, okay, that's my character 3, and what do you need right now? Or I need character 1 to take over.
Right. And you can then start really looking at your relationships with other people, because maybe I'm not unhappy all the time, except when these certain people come into my world. And I just automatically move into, I'm unhappy. I'm in my character 2. I'm miserable. I want to fight with them. And then I'm looking at that relationship. Now, what happens then if that's the relationship, and 2 character 2s in relationship will never find a resolution? It's just going to be a fight. Somebody's got to take time out. You got to get away. Somebody's got to get out of the 2. One can stay in the 2. One of the characters can stay in the 2, but it's non-productive. And then you start looking at your relationships and reevaluating, who am I spending time with and why? And what part of me do they bring out? And what part of them do I bring out? And what really is that relationship? And can we say, it seems every time I get with you, I make you angry. And, I'm sorry, that's not the kind of relationship that I want with you. Do you think maybe we could spend our time doing character 1s together for a little while without that little character 2 creeping in and ruining our time together?
How would you use this with children? Does it help? Because kids, obviously, their brains are not as developed. We hear that they're not really fully developed till 25. Right. But, your kids, maybe the siblings are fighting, or you're really having struggles with your kids' organization. I don't know. How do you teach this to kids? Because it seems like if you learn this when you're younger, this is a great tool for them.
Exactly. I'm actually working with a gal who works in a school system. And just the other day, there were 2 8-year-olds who were fighting with one another. And so the teachers came in, and she happened to be present. And so they broke the kids up. And then my friend went over and she said, do you want to know about your brain and how your brain works and what just happened to you? And the kid's going, well, yeah, I do. And she said, well, this this was not the instigator. Okay. This was the one who was trying to rationalize. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. And then gave in and punched him out. Right. So the other kid's character 2 is attack. And I'm in I don't want to fight. Go away. No big deal. Push away. And then bam, I move into my 2. And so my friend described this experience in these characters, and the kid said, so what you're saying is, I pick? Yeah, you pick. You pick which character you want to be. And you could have stayed in that character 1 and just said, no, I'm not dealing with your character 2. And known in your mind that they're just going to keep going, because that's what the 2 does. And you could walk away, or you could manage that in a different way. Kids love it because it's like, oh, well, that makes sense.
So the only thing is, part of that sounds too good to be true, that what about the fact that they're just so mad and they're not taking the time? So is to even get to these characters, you have to pause? Right, that's another question. So if I'm caught in my character 2 and I'm in my rage, how do we tend to manage this? We have time out.
we have count to 10, we have whatever, right? I call this the 90-second rule. From the moment you think a thought, it stimulates like you hurt my toy, I'm mad at you, I'm going to hit you, right? So I think the thought, and so it's stimulating that emotion, and then it stimulates a physiological response that from the beginning of the circuit to the end of the circuit takes less than 90 seconds. So if I know that I have now been triggered by automatic reactivity, and I know that that's going to last 90 seconds, then I need to pull myself away from a situation and stop rethinking the thought that keeps re-stimulating that 90 seconds, because we can stay mad for hours or days or weeks or years.
Right. I read that once. And so since you are the Harvard neuroscientist, is that true? That really, if we just let an emotion pass 90 seconds and we can go back to just, it's only when we keep thinking about it. But if we think of it like surfing it like a wave, if we can just go be by ourselves or whatever coping strategy for 90 seconds, that uncomfortable emotion will be done.
It flushes through us and flushes out of us. But then we've got to change what we're thinking about. Here's a great example. So let's say you and I are fighting and then the telephone rings. And then you pick up the phone and you know you're not going to yell at the person on the phone, right? So you're at me. So you're in your character two to me. But you pick up the phone and you say, hello. Right. And then you talk to them for, let's say, 2-3 minutes and and you're being your character one, rational brain. And then you put down the phone. And then that's your moment of work. What do you do in the moment of choice? And now you're looking at me going, I'd really like to keep biting on her because I am not done yelling, right? I'm not done with this fight, which is that character two impulse pulling you back into the fight. And your character one is saying, whew, saved by the bell. Okay, I'll deal with you later. Go cool off. I'll go cool off. Yeah. So that broke that cycle of that circuitry. We do it all the time. We just need to become aware of the power that we have that we're already using and not paying any attention to.
Right. Like, I think some of us might be much more character one at work. In the middle of an interview with you, the likelihood of me getting angry or saying something I regret would be, it just wouldn't happen because I guess maybe, but in other situations, so the more aware we are that, oh, how am I doing that in one sphere? Can I bring it to the other sphere?
Right.
And you say there's a myth about the brain. Most people have this myth. What are some of the myths about the brain?
Well, the biggest myth is that the right brain is emotional and the left brain is thinking. That's simply not true. We have emotional in both. We have thinking in both hemispheres. It's just that the right hemisphere is right here, right now, and it's not about me, the individual. The left has temporality of time. So we have a past and a future, so we can have fear from our past and anxiety about our future in that left brain as it relates to me, the individual. And then the other famous myth is that we only use 10% of what's going on. That's simply not true. Neurons are very social creatures. They're like little people, and they're reaching out, and they need stimulation. So you can guarantee if it's alive and it's in your head, you're using it.
Okay. And one of the things that I think if you read books like yours, you might know, but people in the audience might not, is that our brain, we used to think it was fixed. People like you have taught us differently after strokes that our brain, it has neuroplasticity. So the fact that we are maybe upset that we always feel this way we don't have to stay that way, right? When you do practices like this, your brain actually rewires. It's like you're getting new programming.
Exactly, because neurons are if you look at neurons in live time, you can actually see the dendrites rearranging themselves to create a new network to receive new stimulation. I mean, they're positioned in space as their body, the cell body, but they are constantly changing. We can create 1.8 million new synaptic connections per second. That's how we learn. So I now have the ability to learn something new in real time because my neurons are actually reconnecting and making new connections in real time.
So a lot of us have heard that the way you get, whether you're at work where they say, oh, come up with your goal and you're going to change this habit and there's a reward at the end. Or parents are told all the time, use positive reinforcement with the kids because that's the way the brain works. Dangle a carrot.
Right.
Is that true? Does it work that way?
Oh, yeah. You know, one of the biggest mistakes the government made was when it said, say no to drugs, right? Say, you remember that?
Yeah.
Say no
Just
to
say
drugs.
no.
That was the slogan. And it was like all the brain heard was drugs.
Because we don't hear
It just
no.
heard drugs. It didn't hear the say no to. It didn't order like that. It just said drugs, drugs, drugs. And it was like drugs, 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 you know? I mean, so yeah, you have to be very careful in how you try to train the brain. And the brain takes the information and then compares it to what it knows and then explodes with new possibility if you allow it to. But if you're hooked up in that negative emotion again, it gets smaller instead of bigger.
Well, and this might be, you know, for those of us who really like this kind of topic, it's really interesting to read the book. It's all this. But for real help out there, people who've been through trauma or people who've been through even abusive relationships, or the idea that this is the reason you wrote this book, as you say, it's really freedom, right? When we do this practice, and there's a lot more science in the book. I encourage people to get the book, Whole Brain Living. It's written for the simple mind. You can understand it, even if you're not a neuroscientist. The point of this would be that it's freedom. We can choose to have a different life.
Yeah. Exactly. We can choose. First, we can observe, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? And first, to just know I'm running cells. My anger is a group of cells in circuit. And the more I run that circuit, the stronger that circuit becomes, and it then begins to run on automatic. That's just how cells are in general. So if I'm recognizing I'm running my anger, well, notice when you're not running your anger circuit and what alternatives. When are you playful? When are you happy? When are you joyful? Who lights you up? What books do you like to read? What shows make you laugh? And then encourage that circuitry, because any circuit that you run more of will begin to run on automatic, and it becomes then a habitual pattern inside of the brain. So we absolutely do have the ability to change who and how we want to be in the world.
So in our closing thoughts, simple practices, what you're saying is we need to, run more of the good stuff. So meditation, affirmations, are these all things you think are scientifically based? Getting up in the morning, having a few moments to breathe, and, saying I am joyful or I am abundant. It's not just woo-hoo, it actually works.
No, it is science, because again, when I first wake up in the morning, first of all, I am not a single-celled microbe form of life, but even the single-celled microbe is a miracle. Scientists have no idea how the universe is created. So talk about woo-woo, life, the existence of life would be considered woo-woo, right? But it's this miracle of experience of the energy in the universe to create the life. And if I just begin my day with going, oh my gosh, my eyes are open, I'm awake, thank you to the cells in the brainstem that actually woke me up. Because if they don't wake me up, then I exist in a state of coma. So just right at the beginning, what am I grateful for? Oh my gosh, I can wiggle my toes. Oh my gosh, I can think. Oh my gosh, my eyes work. Oh my gosh, I can hear. Oh my gosh. If I wake up just feeling, oh my gosh, imagine how that permeates the rest of my day, because I'm beginning in a state of gratitude.
Yep. I love that the science backs this all up, and there's more in the book. So I know people can get the book wherever it's sold, Whole Brain Living, or go more information at drjilltaylor.com. It's so nice to meet you. You've had such an incredible life. We thank you for sharing your information.
Thank you, Kara. Appreciate it.
And if you want more cutting-edge information on wellness, subscribe to the Kara's Cures podcast, and you can watch more episodes on the WFSB streaming news app. You can also follow me at Kara Sundlin on social media, and I will post this story and the others right there.